Adam stood in the center of the enormous throne chamber, but he felt smaller than a grain of dust drifting in sunlight. The chamber was built from silver stone that looked like frozen moonlight. Stretching higher than any cathedral on earth, pillars shaped like twisting wings rose around him, each carved with symbols from an alien language older than human memory. Everything in that place felt sharp, perfect, and cold, so cold it bit through his skin. His wrists were bound with glowing chains. They hummed softly, like electric whispers, reminding him with every pulse that he was not a guest here. He was a prisoner. A human prisoner. One of the last beings the Siraxi Empire would ever bother questioning. The guards around him stood perfectly still, like statues carved from crystal and armor. Their eyes glowed with pale blue fire, never blinking. They didn't need to. The Siraxi did not waste unnecessary motion. They did not sweat, breathe hard, tremble, or show any emotion at all. They were born conquerors, built to rule, built to win, and now their queen approached him. Queen Yalara of the Siraxi Dominion descended her stairs slowly, each step echoing in the chamber like the heartbeat of a dying world. She was tall, taller than any human Adam had ever seen. Her wings shimmered behind her like folded sheets of silver flame. Her armor reflected the starlight flowing through the ceiling, turning her into a moving star. A living piece of the night sky. Adam had seen her image on war broadcasts. Back on Earth, entire cities burnt in the shadow of her fleet. Nations fell silent because she commanded them to. People whispered her name, the same way they whispered the name of an approaching storm. But seeing her in person felt different. It felt like standing in front of destiny. Or doom. Yalara stopped only a few feet from him. Her golden eyes studied him the way a scientist studies an insect trapped under glass. A human, she said softly, yet her voice filled the entire room. One of the species that screams, burns, and still refuses to kneel. Her words were calm, almost curious, but Adam felt a chill run down his spine. He kept his head lowered. His throat was tight, dry. His whole body felt like it was shaking from the inside. Humans were newcomers to the stars. Primitive, slow, fragile. They built ships that could barely jump between solar systems. Their weapons were simple metal and fire compared to the Siraxi's crystal cannons and star-forged blades. And yet humans fought. They resisted, even when they should have surrendered. The queen stepped closer, tilting her head as she studied his face. "You interest me," Yalara murmured. "Not because you are strong, not because you are brilliant, but because you are confusing." She raised her hand, and a blade unfolded from her armor, thin as a whisper, sharp as a thought. She let the tip hover barely an inch from Adam's throat. He felt its heat, its hunger. He could not move. He could not breathe. Her wings shifted, casting long shadows across the floor. "You fear me," she continued. "All humans do. And yet your kind still resists us. You fight until your homes burn, until your bodies fail." She leaned in close enough that he could see the reflection of his own trembling form in her eyes. "Why?" she asked. Adam tried to speak, but his voice caught in his chest. Yalara gave a small, cold smile. "Perhaps," she said, "your people survive because you hold on to strange, fragile ideas. Things we Siraxi abandoned long ago." She paused, her eyes narrowing as if she were testing him. "Ideas like hope, dreams, softness, beauty." The blade at his throat moved away. Then she spoke the words that froze him, more than the chains ever could. "Describe elegance." "Human," she commanded. Her voice was no longer curious. It was expecting - demanding. The Siraxi believed elegance was perfection, control, power, flawless logic, immaculate design. They wanted to know how humans dared to see the world differently. And she, the queen of 1,000 worlds, wanted to hear his answer. Adam felt his heartbeat hammering inside his ribs. His breath came in shallow gasps. The guards watched him like wolves waiting for the signal to kill. He knew that if he disappointed her, if his answer was weak, foolish, or childish, his life would end right there, on the shimmering floor. He lifted his eyes slowly. His voice shook, but he would answer, because he was human, and humans always answered. Adam's mind raced, trying to find the right words. Elegance. What was elegance to a human? To him? The word felt fragile in his mouth, like a delicate glass figurine that might shatter if he said it wrong. He could see Queen Yalara waiting, her golden eyes sharp and piercing. The air in the chamber was heavy, humming with the quiet power of her presence. Every instinct told him to be silent, to bow, to beg for mercy. But something deeper, something stubbornly human urged him to speak. He swallowed the lump in his throat and lifted his gaze. His voice came out soft, almost a whisper, shaking like a candle flame in the wind. "Elegance," he began, and the queen leaned in slightly, intrigued. Adam noticed how her wings shifted ever so slightly, casting silver patterns on the floor. Her shoulders stiffened, anticipating the wrong word, the slightest misstep. "Elegance is—" He paused, closing his eyes briefly as memories flooded him. Not memories of battle, not memories of warships and firestorms, but memories of Earth, of home, of what it meant to be human. He remembered the night the sky had burned above his city. Clouds of ash falling like snow from a war machine in orbit. He had held his little sister Lily in his arms as they ran through empty streets, dodging debris and fire. Her small hand clutched his tightly. She had pointed at the faint stars above the smoke and said, "They are still up there, Adam. They are still shining." Adam opened his eyes. The queen's gaze was fixed on him, unblinking. He felt a strange courage rising within him, a warmth he didn't know he had left. "Elegance is," he said again, louder this time, not in strength, not in power, not in perfection. "Elegance is in surviving anyway. Elegance is in hope when the world is falling apart. Elegance is in small acts that seem meaningless, but are full of life." The guards shifted, their attention tightening like a net around him. Adam ignored them. He kept speaking. "It is a mother lighting a candle when the city is dark, telling stories so her children will not be afraid. It is a child drawing stars on a ruined wall because she believes the sky will clear. It is helping someone who cannot repay you, smiling when there is nothing to smile about, and standing when everything around you is trying to crush you." The queen's golden eyes narrowed. Adam could see a flicker of something he had never seen before in her, curiosity, maybe, or the faintest touch of doubt. Her body tensed, but her voice was quieter, almost fragile. "You speak strangely," she said. "Elegance is weakness. Elegance does not conquer. Elegance does not destroy." Adam shook his head, feeling the weight of truth pressing in. "No," he said softly, but with firmness. "Elegance is not weakness. Elegance is strength you cannot measure with weapons or armies. Elegance is the courage to be human, even when the universe tells you not to." The queen stepped closer, her presence overwhelming, her silver wings brushing the air like lightning frozen in motion. Adam's chest tightened, but he did not falter. "Humans are fragile," she said, her voice low, almost a hiss. "You are soft, small, brief. Your lives barely matter in the face of the stars." Adam met her gaze. "Maybe we are small. Maybe we are weak. But elegance makes us bigger than you can imagine. Elegance is surviving. Elegance is choosing love over hate, hope over fear. Elegance is the fire in a human heart when all else is dark." For the first time, the queen did not speak. Her wings twitched, her body frozen, and Adam realized that his words were touching something ancient, something buried deep within her. The queen who had conquered worlds, who had destroyed civilizations, was listening not as a ruler, but as a being confronted with a truth she had forgotten. Adam's voice softened, almost intimate now. "Elegance is what makes life worth living. It is not what you take. It is what you give, even when no one is watching. That is the thing your armies cannot crush. That is the thing your stars cannot burn. That is human elegance." Silence fell. Not the silence of waiting or of fear, but the silence of a storm holding its breath. The queen's gaze did not waver, yet Adam could sense her heartbeat in her chest, faint, trembling. The weight of the chamber, the power of the throne, the history of conquest, all of it seemed to fade under the force of something simple. Something human, something she could not touch with her hands or her weapons. Adam stood there, trembling, yet proud. He had spoken truth. And in doing so, he had lit a spark that might one day reach the heart of a queen. The chamber was silent, but the silence was not empty. It pressed against Adam's chest like water, heavy and endless. Queen Yalara's golden eyes were fixed on him, wide and unblinking. The air shimmered with the quiet power of her presence. Her wings, silver and luminous, stirred faintly, casting rippling patterns on the floor. For a moment, Adam wondered if she was waiting for him to falter, to break under the weight of fear. But he did not falter. "Elegance," he said again, his voice steadier now, more certain. The word tasted strange in his mouth, like something sacred he had never spoken aloud before. "Elegance is not what you see in armies, in ships, or in conquered worlds. It is not in perfection, or control, or fear. Elegance is life. Life that persists against everything that tries to destroy it." He could see a flicker of confusion cross the queen's face. Her body remained statuesque, but her wings trembled slightly, a subtle ripple that betrayed her curiosity. She had never heard words like this. She had never seen a human stand before her without begging for mercy, without trembling into submission. And yet, Adam was trembling. Not from fear, but from truth. It is the way a child laughs in a storm, even when the streets are burning. It is the way a mother carries her child through darkness, telling stories to keep hope alive. It is the warmth of a hand when no one else would offer comfort. That is elegance. Adam's voice rose, no longer just a whisper. It filled the chamber, bouncing off the silver pillars, reaching every corner where the Saraxi guard stood frozen in place. The queen's gaze sharpened. You speak as if fragility is strength. Adam shook his head. It is not fragility. It is courage. Elegance is courage. Choosing to care, to hope, to love, even when everything around you wants to destroy those things. That is the strength you cannot take with weapons. That is the strength you cannot conquer with armies. Yalara's jaw tightened, and for a moment, she seemed to be searching for a flaw in his words, a weakness she could exploit. Her golden eyes burned, and her wings shifted again, small ripples of silver light tracing through the air. You are small, she said. Your lives are brief. You barely last a century before your bodies fail. How can you claim this as strength? Adam lifted his chin, his heart pounding. Because even in our brevity, even in our weakness, we choose to live fully. We choose to give when the universe expects us to take. We choose kindness when cruelty would be easier. That is elegance. That is human. He remembered the nights spent hiding in rubble-strewn streets, the nights when hope was the only weapon he had, and he spoke it aloud. Elegance is finding beauty in a broken world. It is dancing in rain while bombs fall above. It is singing when your voice shakes. It is holding on to the things that matter most, even when losing everything else. The chamber was completely still now. The guards, the lights, even the humming energy of the queen herself seemed to pause. Yalara's lips parted slightly. Her wings trembled more noticeably. The queen who had conquered 1,000 worlds was listening to a human speak of hope, love, and small acts of courage as if they were the greatest weapon in the universe. Adam's voice softened. But the words were sharp enough to cut through centuries of conquest. Elegance is not in what you destroy. Elegance is in what survives. It is in the laughter of children, in the warmth of families, in hearts that continue to beat even after the worst has happened. That is strength beyond your fleets, your blades, your power. That is human strength. That is human elegance. Yalara's wings shifted again, slowly, uncertainly. She took a step back, her golden eyes narrowing as if to focus, to understand what she was feeling. She had never felt this before, this strange pull in her chest, this tremor that was not fear, not anger, but something foreign, almost unbearable. You speak with conviction, she said, her voice low, unsteady. You are weak, yet you stand as if you are unbreakable. Adam nodded, his voice barely above a whisper now, yet filled with unwavering certainty. Because we are human. We are broken and imperfect, but that is what makes us beautiful. That is what makes us elegant. For the first time, Yalara did not respond. She did not command, did not threaten, did not move. She simply stood, wings trembling slightly, golden eyes locked on a human who dared to define elegance in a way no conqueror had ever imagined. And in that silence, Adam realized something. He had done more than answer a question. He had lit a spark that might reach even the heart of a queen. The chamber seemed to hold its breath. Adam stood frozen, yet alive, trembling not from fear but from the force of his own words. Queen Yalara's golden eyes never left him. They were sharp, burning, and yet something had changed. Something fragile and dangerous stirred within her, something she had long forgotten. Doubt. For centuries, she had ruled without question. The stars bowed to her command, civilizations fell at her will, and armies trembled at her name. She had never been challenged, not in body, not in mind. Yet here, before her, a human dared to speak of elegance, hope, and courage in a way that made her heart ache. And that ache was unfamiliar. You speak of weakness as if it is a weapon, she said softly, almost a whisper, though her voice echoed through the silver pillars. You speak of fragility, of small lives as if they are invincible. Adam shook his head slowly. No, I speak of what survives when everything else fails. You cannot destroy courage, hope, or love, Yalara. You cannot conquer what exists in hearts. That is elegance. That is human. She stepped closer, the floor vibrating slightly beneath her weight. Her wings shifted, casting shadows across his trembling figure. She raised a hand, brushing the air as if to summon fire, yet no attack came. She was conflicted, and Adam could see it. The queen who had never wavered, who had never doubted, now looked as if the foundations of her empire were trembling beneath her feet. "You are small," she said, her voice tighter now. "Your life is brief. Your worlds are fragile. Your people. You are nothing compared to the Siraxi." "And yet," Adam replied, "we matter. Not because of what we can destroy, but because of what we can give. Because we love when it is easier to hate. Because we hope when everything is lost. That is elegance. That is strength. That is human." Yalara's wings twitched uncontrollably now, silver light scattering across the chamber like shattered stars. She took a step back, trying to regain control, to summon her authority, her power. But Adam's words were like invisible chains, holding her still. She could command armies, destroy planets, and rule worlds, but she could not command this feeling, this truth pressing against her heart. You disturb me," she said, almost breathless. "Why do your words shake me? Why does your voice make my body tremble?" Adam's chest rose and fell. He had expected anger, violence, or death. Instead, he saw something she had never allowed herself to feel: vulnerability. A flicker of humanity in a being who had long forgotten it existed. "Because elegance," he said gently, "cannot be crushed. You can rule with fear, with strength, with fire. But you cannot rule love, hope, or courage. Those are not yours to take. They are ours, human." The queen's wings lowered slightly. Her gaze softened, but her golden eyes were still sharp, still piercing. Yet in the depth of her stare, Adam saw confusion, doubt, and perhaps even awe. She had faced armies larger than his mind could imagine, worlds filled with fire and death. But this human, fragile, trembling, standing before her chained, had done something no one else had ever done. He had reached her. "You speak truths I do not understand," she said, her voice a mixture of frustration and fascination. "Your words, they wound me. They unsettle me. They make me feel things I buried long ago." Adam nodded slowly. "That is what elegance is. It is not just beauty. It is courage. It is hope. It is love. Even when the world wants to break you. That is what humans carry, Yalara. That is what you cannot conquer." Her wings quivered again, and she pressed her hand to her chest. A sound like cracking ice echoed softly in the chamber. It was not the sound of her armor. It was the sound of a heart, long hardened, beginning to fracture. For the first time, Yalara did not issue a command. She did not threaten. She did not demand obedience. She simply stood, shaken, caught between the power she wielded and the human standing before her, who had just stripped her of certainty. Adam realized, with a quiet awe, that he had changed something eternal. A queen who had never doubted, a conqueror who had never faltered, now wavered. Her mind raced, her heart trembled. And she was unarmed, not with swords, not with shields, not with fleets, but against the truth of what it meant to be human. And in that silence, in that trembling pause, Adam understood. He was not just a prisoner. He was a teacher. And the queen, unstoppable and eternal, had just begun to learn. The throne chamber felt impossibly still, yet every heartbeat echoed like a drum in Adam's chest. Queen Yalara stood before him, her wings folding and unfolding in slow, uncertain motions. For centuries, she had commanded obedience without question, ruled through fear and precision, crushed anyone who dared challenge her. But now, Adam could see it. Her control was slipping. Not because of force, but because of something she had never faced: a truth too simple, too human to be defeated by weapons or empires. "You speak as if the universe itself has no power over you," Yalara said, her golden eyes narrowing. "You speak as if courage and hope can outweigh armies, weapons, and conquest. How can you believe such things?" Adam's chest rose with calm defiance. He had faced fear before, earth skies burning with ash, cities crumbling beneath fire, lives lost and dreams shattered. And yet he had survived. He had loved. He had hoped. That was the essence of being human. That was his answer. "Because we have no choice," he said. "Even when everything around us screams that we will fall, even when every star above us dies, we keep moving. We keep caring. We keep believing. That is elegance. That is strength. That is human." Yalara's wings shivered, silver feathers brushing the floor. Her soldiers waited tensely, as if expecting her to command death, but she did not. Instead, she took a step back, her chest rising and falling in uneven breaths. She had always been in control, always, but this human had done something she did not understand. Something she had never encountered in all her victories. "You speak of love as if it is a shield," she said, almost trembling. "You speak of hope as if it is a sword. Yet those things are fragile. They break easily. They fail." Adam shook his head. "Fragile things survive where brute force fails. Fragile things inspire others to rise. Fragile things remind the world there is more than fear. You think your power can crush all, but it cannot crush courage in the heart, or the love that refuses to give up. That is elegance, Yalara. That is human strength." For the first time, the queen's golden eyes softened. She pressed a hand to her chest, as if trying to feel the strange sensation growing there. Something prickled her mind, unbidden, unfamiliar, something Adam's words had awakened. A spark of doubt. A flicker of longing. A seed of humility. "You disturb me," she whispered, her voice trembling almost as much as her wings. "Why does your voice make my heart uneasy? Why do your words feel more dangerous than any fleet I command?" Adam's gaze met hers, steady and unwavering. "Because elegance cannot be destroyed with fire or steel. It exists in what you cannot take. It exists in what lives inside us, no matter how much you try to break it. You cannot conquer hope, love, courage, or kindness. You cannot conquer what it means to be human." The queen's lips parted slightly, her breath catching. She had faced beings who would fight to the death, entire worlds that would resist her armies, yet never before had words shaken her so deeply. She pressed her hand against her chest, feeling the weight of a human's truth pressing into the hollows of her soul. "You speak truths that I cannot bear," she admitted softly, her voice cracking. "I have ruled through fear for centuries. I have crushed those who dared resist. And yet," she faltered, her gaze flickering to Adam, "and yet your words make me feel vulnerable." Adam's chest tightened. He had not come here to weaken her. He had come here to answer a question. And yet, in doing so, he had shown her something she had forgotten, something powerful, yet delicate. "Yes," he said gently. "Vulnerability is part of elegance. Courage does not mean never feeling fear. Love does not mean never losing. Hope does not mean expecting perfection. Elegance is choosing all of these anyway. That is what humans do." Yalara's wings folded slowly, uncertainly, like a bird unsure if it could fly again. Her eyes, golden and eternal, shone with a new kind of light, curiosity mixed with awe, fear mixed with admiration. A conqueror who had ruled 1,000 worlds was shaken, not by armies, not by weapons, but by a human who dared to define the strength of his species. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other. No commands, no threats. No orders, just the quiet trembling of a queen realizing that her universe was not as complete as she had always believed. And a human, small and fragile, showing her the elegance she had long forgotten. Adam realized something profound. This was the turning. The moment where fear and power would no longer dominate. The moment where words and truth could reshape even a queen. And in that pause, he felt the weight of history shift, not with violence, but with courage. The chamber was quiet in a way Adam had never known before. Not the quiet of fear, or the quiet of waiting, but the quiet of a world holding its breath. Queen Yalara stood before him, her wings folding slowly behind her, silver light shimmering like liquid in the still air. Her golden eyes, once sharp and commanding, were softened by confusion, by doubt, and most surprisingly, by something Adam could not name at first. She had never paused like this. She had never questioned herself. She had ruled entire galaxies with her will, her power absolute, her judgments final. But now she hesitated. And that hesitation was dangerous for her empire, and for every being who had ever feared her name. Adam remained still, trembling slightly, not with fear, but with the quiet realization that he had reached her. He had spoken the language of humanity, courage, love, hope, and elegance. And it had touched her in a way no sword, no army, no conquest ever could. "You speak truths," she said softly, almost afraid of them. "Truths that unsettle me. I have ruled through fear for centuries. I have conquered, destroyed, and dominated. And yet, this human stands before me, and your words shake me more than all of my victories combined." Adam lowered his gaze for a moment, then looked back at her steadily. "Because your strength is not the only kind of power. Elegance is a power you cannot see or destroy. And you, Yalara. You feel it now, whether you want to or not. Her wings trembled, silver light cascading like liquid metal across the floor. She pressed a hand to her chest, the queenly posture faltering, and Adam noticed her breathing shallow, uneven, human. For the first time, she was no longer untouchable, no longer an untamed force of the stars. She was vulnerable, and it terrified and fascinated her. Do you understand what you are asking of me? She whispered. Your species. You are fragile, brief, and soft. How can I consider sparing you, when my entire life has been about victory and destruction? Adam shook his head. I am not asking you to surrender, Yalara. I am asking you to see. To see that elegance, what humans carry, is something even you cannot conquer. That is strength. That is life. That is beauty. That is human. Her eyes glimmered with gold, yet something deeper shifted. Something she had buried beneath centuries of conquest, beneath empires and war. It was a memory of something she had long forgotten. The value of life, the warmth of connection, the power of hope. A feeling she had tried to erase from her heart. And now it was alive again, sparked by a human's courage. You make me feel alive, she said, her voice trembling. Alive in ways I have not felt in centuries. Your words, your small, fragile human words, remind me of what I have lost. Remind me that there is more than fear, more than control, more than power. Adam's chest rose with cautious hope. Then let that guide you. Let your heart, even just for a moment, decide something other than conquest. Let human elegance teach you what true strength is. Yalara's hand fell from her chest. Her wings folded slowly, uncertainly, and she raised her head. Gold eyes shimmering with tears, she did not allow herself to cry. Her voice, soft but unshakable now, echoed through the chamber. You are human, she said, almost a whisper. And yet, you have done something no Siraxi could ever do. You have shown me what I cannot conquer with weapons or fleets. You have reminded me that strength is not only in power, but in courage, hope, and life itself. She paused, taking a step back. Adam felt the weight of her decision before she even spoke the words. The queen who had destroyed entire civilizations, who had ruled thousands of worlds, who had never hesitated in taking life, was reconsidering everything. I will spare your world, she said finally, her voice ringing with authority tempered by newfound humility. I cannot destroy a species that carries such elegance. I cannot conquer what cannot be conquered. And for that, your people will live. The chamber trembled, not with energy or weapons, but with the quiet power of a choice made by a being who had learned something new. Adam felt chains fall from his wrists and his mind, even before they were physically removed. He realized he had not only answered her question, he had changed her. Yalara's wings stretched slowly, a queen uncertain yet reborn. Her golden eyes met his, trembling not with fear, but with awe and something deeper, almost human. Return to your people, human, she commanded softly. Tell them that the Siraxi will not harm them. Tell them that their elegance has been seen, and that it matters more than they know. Adam bowed deeply, his heart full of wonder, relief, and quiet pride. He had survived. He had spoken truth. He had taught a queen what it meant to be human. And in that moment, in the vast, silent chamber, he realized the galaxy had changed, not through war, not through conquest, but through words, courage, and the fragile, unyielding strength of a human heart.